the battlefield, gloriously chaotic. Amid the clash, a hero unleashed divine power with Excalibur. Young Ishua watched, awestruck by the sacred sword's brilliance, but wonder turned to worry. Excalibur was guzzling mana like a beast, yet the hero kept firing it non-stop, forcing the party to scramble, desperately refilling their drained reserves. The party unleashed their powers. Lightning flew, the blade of Gram slashed, and the senses lit the field with holy nova. Amid the chaos, Ishua calmly restored mana, fixed the mage's sword, and cast buffs to keep them going. Once the mana pool was filled to the brim, Ishua urged the party to leave the arcane resource management to him and focus solely on doing what they did best, showboating and smashing enemies. Days later, the mask dropped. Out of nowhere, hero Alan, yes, that insecure peacock, exiled Ishua despite keeping the party alive with mana. He was kicked out without a second thought. And how did our dear Yeshua react? Did he rise up in righteous fury? Did he smite the fool with a monsoon of mana? Nope, he stood there, stunned, heartbroken, like a sad puppy that just got kicked out of the dog park by a chihuahua in armor. How? Tragically pitiful. Desperate, Ishua reminded Alan how vital he was. Alan scoffed. We never ran out, Ishua explained. He kept it that way. But Alan, he accused him of lying. The betrayal wasn't about mana, it was envy. Alan's jealousy grew monstrous. He hated the attention Ishua got from the party's fairer members. Instead of facing his insecurities, he used his rank to push Ishua out. Alan, smug in his authority, made it clear that Ishua, being a Maramana porter, had no right to protest. Ishua, stunned and heartbroken, could only watch as the party that had once relied upon him turned its back on him. Did he fight back? Raise his voice? Even throw a mildly passive-aggressive comment? Not even close. He just stood there like a decorative houseplant, watching the very people who guzzled his mana like goblins at a tavern turn their backs on him. Spine. This boy doesn't have a spine. He's more noodle than man. But hey, it is a Japanese fantasy story. Spineless main characters are practically a cultural export at this point. He left, bitterness gnawing at his soul. To be discarded like that, in a party where mana flowed like a raging river, Ishua was the dam holding it back, yet no one noticed. To the powerful elite, Alan, the sage, the saint, and the arcane swordmaster Ishua had been invisible. A servant, maintenance man in a world of flamboyant fireworks. Without him, battles would become, shall we say, inconvenient. And so, with heavy steps and heavier thoughts, Ishua walked away. But fate, ever the mischievous playwright, had one more twist to the script. A voice called out, "Senpai!" He turned, surprised, to find Arya, the saint, running toward him. She stopped before him, her scent soft and familiar, her eyes full of worry. She demanded to know why he had left without a word. Ishua told her the truth. He hadn't left willingly. He had been voted out. Arya's eyes widened in disbelief. She quickly realized the truth. Without Ishua, the party's precious mana management was doomed. She confessed she had intended to bring him back, but she changed her mind. Instead, she wanted to follow him. She admitted that everything she had achieved was because of Ishua. He had supported her even in their academy days. And now she wanted to stand beside him, not behind Alan. She asked to join his new party. Touched, Ishua welcomed her curiously. He asked how she had found him so easy. Arya, rather nonchalantly, admitted she had used one of his hairs in a tracking spell. Startled, Ishua asked why a saint would resort to sorcery. She simply smiled. Before the conversation could continue, a cry for help echoed nearby. A carriage, besieged by giant wolves, appeared in the distance. Without hesitation, Ishua declared they would help. Arya found his confidence charming. As they rushed in, Ishua quickly analyzed the threat. Brown wolves, dangerous foes for any fledgling adventurer but Arya. She was already casting. Her magic was brilliant, smooth, and shockingly silent. Noticing her mana destabilizing, Ishua stepped in like a maestro tuning an orchestra. With expert precision, he adjusted the magic circle's flow and launched the spell. Arya responded instantly with her dual-cast, Innocent Shine. A divine cross of radiant light engulfed the wolves, and some unfortunate zombies nearby. The explosion that followed was glorious, and Arya eagerly asked what Ishua thought of her performance. He scolded her gently for overdoing it, noting that she'd just turned the entire area into a purified holy sanctuary. Arya sheepishly apologized. Later, at a tavern, Ishua thanked the merchant they rescued. The merchant, however, was the one overflowing with gratitude, still shaken by the duo's incredible magical display. Arya explained that such spellcasting was normally impossible, but Ishua made the impossible seem mundane. His mana pool was vast, his spell optimization flawless, and his instinct inhumanly sharp. Just then, the merchant berated a waitress for serving such refined guests unrefined nuts. The waitress apologized, explaining that their village had suffered a severe mana shortage. As the merchant described the dire state of the village, Ishua and Arya exchanged a silent look and decided to help. The merchant objected, but Arya insisted that Ishua was too kind to ignore suffering. At the village factory, the equipment was in disrepair, but Ishua, calm and confident, began to pour mana into the broken machines. To everyone's astonishment, they roared back to life, cleaning rust with opposing mana, repairing ancient runes, and stabilizing power sources. Oh, he made it all look so easy. Machines believed to be dead sprang to life, reborn by Ishua's touch. Still, the humble porter called his work amateur. The villagers disagreed. They had never seen such miraculous restoration. Even seasoned engineers couldn't compare. The merchant, curious now, asked Ishua who he really was. Ishua said he was just a mana porter. Arya, on the other hand, proudly confirmed her title as an officially recognized saint. The merchant, stunned, assumed Ishua must be the legendary hero. Ishua tried to correct the misunderstanding, but Arya, clearly enjoying herself, didn't deny it. She even called him her hero. Embarrassed, Ishua tried to calm the crowd, but the villagers were already organizing a feast. He snapped in frustration, but no one listened. Not even Arya, who gleefully agreed with them. And then, bam, Arya hit him. Why? Because she could. Because she was drunk, and Ishua horrified. He begged the merchant to stop giving her drinks, knowing she couldn't handle them. Arya leaned close, lips almost touching his. Poor Ishua panicked, surrounded by drunk villagers and relentless misunderstanding. Elsewhere, the hero Alan stood brooding before a high-level dungeon. The sage and sword knight questioned his decision to proceed without the full party. Alan exploded, ranting about Ishua stealing the spotlight. And so, with fury in his heart and resentment in his step, Alan descended deeper into darkness, while Ishua, once dismissed, walked unknowingly toward the light of true heroism. Ah, yes, and so our tale trudges onward, our mana-slinging doormat and the conveniently loyal senses skipping off into the sunset like two half-baked RPG side quests stitched together with glittered glue and unresolved trauma. Hero Alan. A glorified discount rival character with the depths of a kiddie pool, Arya. Oh, she's sweet until she starts acting like a yonder with a tracking fetish, and Ishua, that boy's allergic to confrontation and makes tofu look confrontational. This story, my dear listeners, is a textbook case of generic fantasy fare. Ooh, magic swords, mana systems, exile genius protagonist. I've seen more originality in bootleg cereal. You'd have a better time reading the back of a shampoo bottle at least that has instructions and character development. I mean, really, how many more recycled tropes can you stack before the entire genre collapses like a soggy Jenga tower made of light novel cliches? It sits lazy, it's tired. I tease. And the hex key was when our pitiable protego BT-no-ODL-snap.
Sorry about that, everyone. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties with Alasta's microphone again, so I guess I'll be taking over for a little while. So, wow, this manga sure has a lot going on, huh? I mean, mana, magic, big sparkly attacks. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I really liked how Arya stood up for him. That was super sweet. Friends, sticking together is important, even if one of them is kind of emotionally constipated. In Axis Village, the townsfolk had gathered under the gentle sun to bid farewell to Ishua. Though he humbly insisted he wasn't a hero, they honored him anyway. When asked where they'd go next, Ishua responded with quiet resolve. He planned to return his hero party license and start anew as an adventurer. With fresh determination, they set off toward Navish, a town rumored to be bustling with opportunities. Meanwhile, deep within a dungeon, Alan was slicing through wave after wave of monsters, questioning if the dungeon was truly worthy of its rank. Alan, bolstered by his own power, scoffed at the idea of needing a mana porter, but Mithia, the magic swordswoman, cautioned him. Mana needed careful handling, and Ishua wasn't there anymore to manage it. Alan, irked by the mere mention of Ishua and Arya, called them cowards for walking away from a high-level dungeon. Oof, someone's still salty about the breakup. I mean, really, Alan? Maybe if you weren't so dramatic, they'd still be by your side. Mithia calmly reminded him of Ishua's words. A good mana porter. Make sure no one has to worry about running out of magic mid-fight. Before she could continue, a monster pounced. Mithia swiftly took it down, but noted that the attacks were becoming more frequent. Realizing the growing danger, Radiru and Alan jumped in. Together, they fended off the next wave. Alan then loudly declared that their party was strong enough to handle anything, puffed up with pride. But something was off, Alan noted.
Well, 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 if it isn't the Queen of Rainbows hijacking my show.
I was just trying to help them understand the emotional growth and—
Oh, I'm sure you were, Cupcake. But if I hear one more growth moment from that damp rag of a protagonist, I swear I'll turn this recap into a crime scene. Now then, back to our feature presentation. He noticed something odd. Mithia wasn't using her magic sword. Curious, he asked why. Her reply, without Ishua, she couldn't sustain its power. Despite these clear signs of doom, Alan barked that they must push forward. But the moment he summoned his holy sword, crack, he collapsed, clutching his head in agony. As he writhed, Mithia quickly diagnosed the problem: mana depletion. A shock to Alan, who had never experienced such mortal limitations. Normally, Ishua would have prevented this, but pride makes one forgetful, doesn't it? Alas, fate wasn't done. An errant monster, a lizard man, emerged. This wasn't a mere beast, it radiated menace. Alan, stricken with fear, did what all great heroes do. He ran. Shouting orders like a captain abandoning ship, he told Reduru to shield him. But she held her ground, reminding him that Mithia was still fighting. Alan snarled that a mere spellblade's life was worth less than the hero's. Oh, what noble leadership! Reduru, appalled, rebuked him. She swore never to abandon a comrade, something Alan had clearly forgotten. Out of mana, but filled with willpower, Reduru dealt a crushing blow to the beast, stunning Alan. A sage using brute strength. Delightful. Seizing the opportunity, Mithia moved like a blade through wind, decapitating the lizard man and severing its limbs. With the threat ended, she praised Ishua's training, which had empowered her even without magic. Their moment of relief was short. Alan's shriek pierced the air. Another lizard man. Mithia reacted instantly, cutting it down. In the aftermath, she reminded Alan that they, unlike him, never left comrades behind. A vow, she said, to always return home together. Powerful stuff. As they exited the dungeon, battered but breathing, the team reflected. Mithia lamented, relying too much on magic, while Reduru, ever the optimist, pointed out that at least half of them were decent with swords. But Alan, oh no, he wanted praise. He complained about retreating, about Reduru using physical attacks and Mithia using a dagger. He claimed victory belonged to him alone, ignoring every warning, every truth, stunning levels of delusion. Mithia coldly reminded him that he was the first to run dry. Alan blamed a headache. A headache. Mithia, incensed, dared him to try summoning the holy sword again. Reduru intervened, ending the spat. Their eyes said it all. Disappointment. As night fell, Mithia suggested they rest in a nearby village. Alan, still pouting, agreed. Upon arrival, a kind woman greeted them. Axis was famous for its nuts. Alan wasted no time, introducing himself as the hero and demanding provisions. But, oh dear, the woman tilted her head and mentioned another hero, Ishua. Alan snapped, calling Ishua a fraud. The woman's smile turned to stone. Mithia's eyes narrowed. Was Alan lying about Ishua's exile? Alan, unbothered by facts, demanded the villagers give him resources for free. The woman's expression chilled like a winter gust as she asked if he had money. Alan accused them of being cheats. Oh, this was going marvelously downhill. The villagers, now livid, hurled eggs and insults, fraud, liar, pretender. Mithya calmly noted they could no longer stop the storm, while Iridiru admitted the situation was spiraling. Outside the village, Mithya turned on Alan. Had he lied about Ishua's banishment? Alan claimed Ishua was unfit. Mithya scoffed. Iridiru spoke up too. None of it had been just. Mithya then declared they'd never beat a high-rank dungeon without... Oh, not this comment. I swear, if I ever lay my shadowy little skulking in the back... He threatened to banish them, but the silence said it all. They weren't afraid anymore. Mithya calmly stated she had no regrets. Iridiru said Alan was leading them straight to ruin. In desperation, Alan tried to rally them for another dungeon. Their reply, thunk, party licenses thrown at his feet. Alan begged, pleaded, reminded them of what the licenses meant. Mithya coldly said hers was officially returned. I'm the continent's hero, he shouted into the night. How tragic! Mithya and Iridiru walked away, calm, unbothered, good luck, they said, and meant none of it.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Oh, but let's be honest, folks. He didn't need a villain to ruin him. He did that all on his own. Who needs monsters when your ego is the final boss? They called it an A-rank dungeon. But I'd say Alan was stuck in a C-rank circus, starring as the main act. Sir, Clown of Crybaby Creek. Mithya asked Iridiru what was next. Iridiru, she had a plan. Find Ishua, the man who never let them down. Iridiru revealed she had one of Ishua's hairs and a new detection skill. Mithya, flustered, admitted she had one too. They called it a coincidence. Yes, a very convenient one. Meanwhile, in a lonely forest, Alan stewed in bitterness. He still believed was the real hero. He comforted himself by imagining Ishua struggling to form a new party. Surely he'd fail without Alan, surely desperate. Alan used a special skill, party discovery, and what did he see? Ishua was already in Nishtown and thriving. Arya was beaming as they arrived in the bustling city.
Back at the Adventurers Guild, Arya stepped up to a large glowing crystal. She gently placed her hand on it as the receptionist's voice echoed through the hall.
Excuse me, since when do you commandeer the spotlight, princess? This is my mic, my narration, and my delicious dose of dramatic flair.
Well, I know it's usually your thing, but this episode is just so hopeful and full of heart. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could tell it. Please, just this once.
Fine, but only because I'm curious to see how much sunshine and sentimentality one's soul can squeeze into a single monologue. I'll provide the commentary. Try not to ruin it, dear.
Yup, turns out Arya wasn't just anyone. She was the saint from the legendary heroes party. Arya gave Ishua a gentle nudge. It was his turn. Both of them had recently given up their hero party credentials and were registering anew. When Ishua placed his hand on the crystal, it blazed with intense light. Gasps echoed. Murmurs spread. The receptionist blinked twice before her eyes went wide. His stats were mostly A and B, but his magic power? Triple S. That's unheard of.
Triple S, because why stop at overpowered when you can break the grading system entirely?
People started whispering. Some doubted the crystal. The receptionist offered a second test just to be sure, but Arya shut it down. She'd seen Ishua in battle, especially when everyone else had run dry on mana. After confirming the results, the guild granted both of them an initial rank of C, thanks to Arya's polite request.
C rank for someone with unlimited cosmic power, how modest. Or maybe just suspiciously convenient.
Even though a straight-up C rank was practically unheard of, Ishua humbly insisted they shouldn't be given special treatment. His sincerity didn't stop other adventurers from immediately trying to recruit them. Arya, shy as ever, tried to keep her cool, but Ishua noticed her unease and stepped in. He smiled warmly and said, "I'm just a mana porter, nothing special." Just then, a girl stepped forward from the crowd. She warned everyone not to crowd Ishua. Turns out her name was Diana, the Sword Saint, a famous S-rank adventurer from the hero Lillian's party, who once defeated a Demon King's elite general. Diana apologized for the crowd's pushiness and asked Ishua to join her party. He kindly declined, explaining he and Arya were a duo now. When Diana mentioned her leader, Lillian, held official hero credentials, Arya spoke up firmly. She explained Ishua had already suffered under a leader who misunderstood him. Seeing the tension, Ishua stepped in again. praising Diana's honesty and saying Lillian must be respectable if she earned Diana's trust. Later, Diana returned to report her failure. She found Lillian deep in magical training, so focused that even Diana, who didn't know much about magic, could tell it was advanced. When she finished, Diana relayed Ishua's decision. Lillian just shrugged, saying, "It can't be helped."
A healthy dose of apathy. Oh, wait for it.
Lillian cried. The famously composed and stoic hero Lillian was crying. She wondered if Ishua despised her. Diana, shocked, reminded her that Ishua just wanted her to meet them in person. Embarrassed, Lillian said she couldn't do something so humiliating. Diana, ever supportive, suggested they shadow Ishua and Arya, offering help when needed. Lillian agreed instantly, her face lighting up for the first time in who knows how long. The next day at the guild, Ishua was in great spirits, cheering Arya on. But their adventure didn't start with a bang, it started with chaos. Adventurers fought over job postings, creating a whirlwind of arguments. Arya, curious, approached a table full of neglected quests. Ishua followed. Among the tasks, repairing a power core, fighting undead, and searching for a lost cat on 3rd Street, Arya let out a squeal of excitement. Ishua smiled, declaring they'd take all of them. The receptionist was stunned. Later, Ishua used his mana to summon every cat in the area. "Apple," she whispered. "They respond to a specific wavelength," he explained with a grin. "Perfect for mana porters," Arya realized. No one else could have done that. Arya, smiling brightly, cast Holy Night Judgment, obliterating over 100 undead in one strike. Diana and Lillian, watching from afar, were stunned. How much mana did that take? Then came the reactor task. Ishua and Arya completed it so quickly that even the staff couldn't believe it. But trouble was waiting. Rival workers showed up, scolding them for finishing so fast.
Ah, the classic overconfident entrance. Always ruined by the main characters solving the problem first.
Ishua calmly told the staff to step back and formed a mana barrier. One thug rushed in, only to clutch his head in agony. Ishua explained, "Mana ring field, he's not used to it." Another thug resisted, so Ishua used mana overflow. The guy started vomiting. Diana blinked. "What just happened?" Lillian explained. "He overcharged him with mana, magic intoxication."
Overwhelming someone with pure talent. Quite literally nauseating. Delightful.
Deep down, she wondered if Ishua would ever need anyone at all. Meanwhile, just outside the busy city of Nishtown, a certain someone finally arrived. Yes, Alan, the former hero party leader, had returned.
Oh, look who crawled out from under his mediocrity. Back and full of regrets. Probably.
Back at the guild, Ishua greeted everyone with a bright good morning. He was in great spirits. The other adventurers quickly took notice, marveling at how he kept taking on the toughest quests, despite his overwhelming power. The receptionist chuckled and noted, "He's become really popular in just a few days." But Ishua waved it off, saying modestly, "I'm just doing jobs that suit me." Just then, a voice called out. He turned, and there was Alan. Ishua blinked in surprise. "Why are you alone?" "We're Eridiru and Mithya," Alan casually replied. "I sent away the inept sage and the sword mage." Ishua looked shocked. Those two were talented, but Alan shrugged it off, dismissing them as just low-level adventurers stuck in a small town. Then, with way too much confidence, Alan offered Ishua and Arya a chance to rejoin his heroic party. Ishua and Arya didn't answer. Their silence made Alan frown. "Why aren't you excited?" he asked. Laughter erupted behind him. Other adventurers were giggling and whispering. Alan spun around. "What's so funny?" One adventurer grinned. "We heard the whole story from Arya about that stupid hero who kicked out his Alan puffed up his chest. "Do you even know who you're talking to?" Calmly, the adventurer replied. "Yeah, to the guy who kicked out a C rank." Alan froze. C rank, most rookies started at F or E. This meant Ishua's rise was insanely fast. "Thanks to you," they added with a smirk. "We got the biggest rookie star in the guild." Furious, Alan snapped. "Why should I take insults from weaklings?" But Ishua stayed calm. He said, "Arya and I are doing just fine. We're not interested in rejoining your party." As he turned to leave, Alan, humiliated and steaming, drew his sword.
Oh, good. We've reached the part where pride trumps logic. Someone fetch the popcorn.
"Stop!" Everyone turned. It was Diana.
Now this is my favorite part. Violence denied by a pretty lady with better stats and a spine.
She stepped forward, her eyes sharp as steel. "If you want to fight, you'll have to go through me. Are you ready for that?"
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Poor boy folded faster than a napkin at a noble's dinner party.
Then one day, a strange assignment popped up. Travel to an elf village and report any unusual activity. Ishua raised an eyebrow. Something felt off about the job. So much so, he didn't want to involve Arya. The receptionist noticed his hesitation. Planning to decline, she asked with a knowing smile. She assured him there were no hidden risks. He'd just have to file a report afterward. Still skeptical, Ishua asked why anyone would take such a vague mission. The receptionist finally admitted the truth. The quest was made specifically for him. A reward for handling all the overlooked quests no one else wanted. Ishua wasn't exactly thrilled. It had only been a week since their last ordeal. Just then, Arya walked in and overheard the word travel. Her eyes lit up, a relaxing trip. Let's go, Ishua blinked. He had been so focused on work, he hadn't realized he was dragging Arya into non-stop quests. He finally gave in. Okay, he said with a smile. Let's take a break. Meanwhile, someone was paying close attention. Lillian overheard that Ishua was heading to the elf village. Turning to Diana, she declared, "It's time to win back his trust." Lillian marched right up to the front desk. "I need a quest near the elf village." The receptionist offered a dangerous errant bounty to hunt a mutated ogre king. Despite the challenge, Lillian accepted with complete confidence. The receptionist nodded, clearly thinking, "Yep, hero things." 3 days later, Ishua and Arya were en route to the elf village. The great world Yggdrasil stood tall and proud. Arya gasped, "It's so beautiful," Ishua explained. "It purifies. Miasma, the elves have lived under its protection for over 2,000 years." Arya, always full of wonder, told Ishua a story she'd heard. That an angel once planted miraculous seeds that grew into the tree. Its roots cleansed the land, making it safe for all living things. But something tugged at his senses. There was something wrong with the tree's mana flow. He hoped it was just his imagination. Elsewhere, things had taken a dangerous turn. Lillian and Diana were in the middle of a brutal battle. Lillian scowled. "We've lost track of Ishua." Diana, gasping through the thick air, replied, "There wasn't another way. Too many monsters." The miasma was choking the battlefield. Without hesitation, Lillian cast a high-level purification spell. Clearing the air instantly, Diana blinked. That was powerful. Lillian waved it off. Just a simple spell, but Diana was already thinking, what if the miasma is causing the monsters to go wild? Suddenly, a massive shadow loomed overhead. The Ogre King had arrived. Diana, sword drawn, narrowed her eyes. Well, at least he's considerate. Saved us the effort of tracking him. She lunged forward, confident her blow would end it, but the Ogre King didn't even flinch. With terrifying ease, he knocked Diana aside. Lillian stepped forward, grim. Some monsters evolved through ascension, pushing beyond their limits by absorbing energy. The Ogre King, it seemed, had absorbed far too much. Understanding the threat, Diana signaled. Lillian immediately activated her unique hero ability, a personal realm that separated allies and enemies from the outside world. Here, Diana's power would be amplified. Diana's sword began to glow with mythical energy. With all her strength, Diana struck the Ogre King, but the blade barely scratched him. He swatted her away like a fly. Even Lillian was stunned. That attack defeated one of the 4 heavenly kings. Lillian's eyes widened with growing concern as she began to question whether the Ogre King's magical resistance surpassed anything she had ever imagined. Despite her doubts, she urged Diana to keep fighting while she still had energy left. Diana obeyed, swinging her sword fiercely, but each strike was effortlessly deflected by the monstrous Ogre King. Suddenly, the Ogre King retaliated with a devastating blow, sending Diana flying across the battlefield. Lillian watched in horror as her friend crashed hard to the ground, the impact echoing through the clearing. But there was no time to think. The Ogre King advanced. Lillian, overwhelmed, realized this might be her final moment. She had dreams, to defeat the Dark Lord, to become a true hero. She clenched her fists. She wouldn't give up. Not yet. Just as the Ogre King raised his weapon, she heard a voice. "I told you not to leave my side." It was Ishua. Arya followed behind him, eyes wide and glowing with holy power.
Oh ho! The cavalry arrives early and uninvited. My favorite kind.
Lillian remembered the first time she met Ishua, back when she was just a lonely child being praised for powers she didn't understand, and punished when she failed. He was the one who found her, the only one who ever asked if she was okay. Now, standing face to face with death, she saw him again, but this time, he wasn't offering a hand, he was shielding her from a deadly strike. Lillian could barely speak. Ishua glanced at her. "Are you okay?" Lillian could only stammer. Meanwhile, Arya was at Diana's side, gently trying to wake her. Ishua looked around. What happened here? But before anyone could answer, Lillian gasped, "How did you even enter this domain?" A few hours earlier, Ishua and Arya had been mopping up more undead near the tree. Arya pouted. "Why haven't we gotten close to the world tree yet?" Ishua explained. "Only authorized people are allowed in, but the guidebook said it's open for tours." She snapped, blasting another undead to pieces. As they finished clearing another wave of monsters, Ishua paused with a thoughtful frown. All those foes were a rank or higher, and Arya handled them solo. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. Have we somehow slipped into the demon realm? Arya looked up in surprise. Wait, really? Just a rank? Ishua nodded slowly. Yes, but I don't know how to handle my junior when she's getting so strong, so fast. She looked around, eyes widening, and the miasma's visible, even to the naked eye. Ishua made a decision. He cast a spell called Mana Link Field, a glowing barrier enclosing them. Not only did it boost mana recovery, it also filtered air inside its protective radius. Ishua sighed. Something is very wrong here. With this density of miasma, this place isn't fit for life. He glanced at the dense forest, voice low, and the world tree. What's really happening to it? Suddenly, Ishua stopped, scanning the air. Arya, something feels off. She nodded, following him silently as he led the way. They soon reached an open area where Arya finally saw what Ishua had been sensing. The air shimmered strangely. The space ahead was warped, artificially distorted. "This is it," Ishua whispered. "The source." He began analyzing the field, eyes glowing with focused intensity. Despite the complexity of the magic, Ishua grasped it. He opened a passage into the distortion and turned to Arya. "Stay close." "Always," she replied. They stepped in together. Lillian blinked in disbelief. How had Ishua entered her domain? Even she couldn't fully understand the spell she'd inherited. Confused, Ishua asked if this distortion was Lillian's ability, not the miasma source. Before she could answer, the mutated Ogre King charged from the shadows. They barely dodged in time. The monster had grown, its form grotesquely enhanced by layers of pure miasma. Without hesitation, Ishua touched Lillian's shoulder. A surge of mana flowed into her like a tidal wave. Meanwhile, Arya had finished treating Diana. The moment Diana woke, she called out for Lillian, confused to find Ishua and Arya beside her. Arya explained she couldn't purify Diana's miasma alone. With a soft glow, he cast a spell called Clean. Diana gasped, her body felt light. Clear, alive again. Diana stared at him, stunned. "You figured all that out on your own?" Ishua nodded. "I had to. As a mana porter, I can't use combat spells. So I studied, analyzed, learned to survive." Lillian was already back in battle, mana blazing. Despite her restored energy, the Ogre King shrugged off her attacks. She admitted she couldn't defeat it, but she smiled, proud to see Ishua again. "I'll buy you time," she said, stepping between him and the monster. Ishua finally understood. She was the real hero he'd heard tales about, not Alan. Selfless, brave, strong. But he refused to let her fight. "Alone, together," he said, stepping forward. "Arya, the usual." Arya smiled and cast enhanced sharpness, party recovery, and protection in one breath. Diana staggered. "Those buffs, they're insane." Ishua nodded. "Don't hold back. I've got the mana." Diana surged forward. Her blade cut the monster's skin. Finally, Arya followed with Holy Nova, but it only grazed it. "This might take a while." Diana sighed. Ishua stepped in. He focused not on damage, but disruption. He began pouring holy mana into the beast, the same way he'd treated Diana. Slowly, the monster began to change. Its grotesque form softened, shrinking, and before their eyes, it reverted, back into a regular Ogre King. "Now it's beatable," Ishua said. "Take your time." But Diana grinned. "Why waste time?" Lillian nodded and cast a powerful strengthening spell on her sword. With one brilliant slash, the monster was cleaved in two. Victory at last, Diana thanked Ishua and formally introduced Lillian, who shyly peeked from behind her. Ishua blinked. "Wait, we've met back at the castle." Lillian blushed. He actually remembered. Diana then brought up the obvious. The miasma shouldn't have been that thick near the world tree. They needed answers, and the elf village would have them. But when they arrived, their hearts dropped. The world tree stood before them, its radiant leaves falling, its glow fading. The tree was dying.
Oh, now that's bad.
Shocked by the sight, Lillian's voice rose. We need to hurry to the elf village. That was the hero Ishua expected. Calm, reliable, urgent, and just like that, the group moved. When they reached the village entrance, Lillian stepped forward with pride. I am the hero. We've come to investigate. The guard tilted her head skeptically. The real hero this time, she asked. That stopped the party in their tracks. A man came through here, she said. Said he was a hero. But everything went strange after. Concerned, the group was quickly waved through. They crossed the village with surprising speed. Wow, even Arya's not stopping to admire the scenery. Arya sniffled. I wanted a vacation, she mumbled. At the world tree's base, a voice suddenly cried out. I didn't know that this will happen. Ishua froze. He knew that voice. They turned the corner, and there he was. Alan, disheveled, pale, clutching his head like the sky had just fallen on him.
All right, darling, this has gone on long enough. Time to crank the dial, skip the monologue, and give these lovely people a summary before they fall asleep in their boots.
Wait, but I was getting to the...
Be quiet, princess. Let Uncle Alasta condense this tragedy of errors before we all die of second-hand embarrassment. A few days ago, our would-be hero, Alan, was dragged back to the capital to explain himself to the king. Turns out, saying I leveled up a bit isn't exactly king-worthy news. The ministers, unimpressed, the king fuming, even more insulting. They asked for Ishua instead. Oh, that one stung. Alan, desperate to save face, blurted out lies about conquering dungeons and Ishua being sick. Smooth. The king wasn't fooled. He gave Alan one last chance. Fix something big or be forgotten. So Alan went to the elf village to help them investigate the world tree. What actually happened? He met the elf queen Chelsea, tried to act heroic, and then brace yourselves. Tried to heal the world tree with basic healing spells. Yes, the actual dying heart of the forest. And he cast a resurrection on its roots like it was a scraped knee. It got worse. Way worse. Alan misread a bulging root, slashed it with his sword, and unleashed the miasma it had been holding back. You know, like unplugging a cursed bathtub. The elves are screaming. Chelsea is sobbing, and rumors are flying that Alan might be working for the Demon King.
But he didn't mean to. He was just trying to help.
Intent doesn't replant trees, my dear. And just when Alan thinks he's hit rock bottom, Ishua arrives. From the crowd, his voice rings out like Karma's alarm clock. Alan turns seething and says, Why are you here? All right, I've had my fun stirring the narrative soup. Okay, now it's back to you, my dear.
Ishua's voice cut through the chaos. Alan, what did you do to the world tree? Elves stepped forward, fury burning in their eyes. He cut the roots, one of them accused. You released the miasma it was sealing away. Alan spun, face twisted in disbelief. Why would I do that? Before anyone could answer, a clear voice broke the tension. Who are these strangers? It was Chelsea, the elf queen. Lillian stepped forward. My name is Lillian, the hero. We've come to help. But Chelsea shook her head. I don't deserve that title anymore, not after failing to protect the world tree. Still, Lillian kept her composure. Please, don't lose hope yet. While they spoke, Ishua moved quietly to the world tree. He knelt down, eyes closed, hands gently pressed to the bark. There's still some life left, Ishua said. I think I can heal it. But the elves immediately protested. Don't touch it. This is your kind's fault. Lillian stepped forward again. He's just a mana porter, but one who might save the world. After a tense pause, she nodded. We'll allow it, but only because we have no other choice. She then turned, fire in her eyes. Seize that man. Alan is to be arrested. Stop it. Unhand me. Wait. Ishua, say something.
All the pride's finally caught up with him. Like a peacock trying to outfly a thunderstorm. Spoiler alert, they don't fly very far.
The mana wasn't flowing right. The miasma had completely blocked the tree's channels. Simply cleansing it wouldn't be enough. So Ishua drew a magic circle on the ground. It twisted and shimmered, forming what he called a mana hole, a spell that siphoned out tainted energy. The elves gasped as more circles appeared, draining the dark aura from the tree. Ishua called to Lillian. Create one above the tree. I can't fly. Lillian flinched, caught off guard that he'd say her name so casually. Up in the air, she mimicked the spell, amazed by Ishua's control. Bit by bit, the miasma began to vanish. Just then, a guard ran in, pale as snow. There's a monster stampede.
Oh, delightful. Nothing like a stampede of murderous beasts to spice up a dreary diplomatic crisis. Shall we bring snacks or just panic?
Lillian immediately guessed the cause. The tree's purification delay. It's letting the miasma spread. Ishua gritted his teeth. He and Lillian couldn't leave. Not now. Arya, Diana, can I count on you? Arya gave a firm nod. Of course. Diana flashed a grin. Finally, some action. The gates opened. The two girls charged out, facing a torrent of monsters flooding from the forest. Arya cast Holy Nova, piercing the horde. The elves on the walls fired volleys of arrows. Potions were thrown their way. Arya nodded in thanks, casting buffs on Diana. She cut down waves of monsters, her aura blazing like wildfire. Back at the tree, Ishua and Lillian created more mana holes, trying to finish purifying the root system. But time was slipping. On the front lines, Diana took a hit. Arya rushed to heal her. But with no mana left, it triggered a magic backlash, pain flaring behind her eyes. Arya, fall back, Diana ordered. Arya hesitated. Her body shook. The walls were failing. The monsters were still coming. Chelsea grabbed her bow. Despite protests, she stepped forward. Get me arrows, I'll fight too. The queen would stand with her people. At the world tree, Ishua's voice whispered, just a little more. Mana finally began to circulate. But back in the field, Diana was bleeding. Arya could no longer heal her. It was too much. And just when all seemed lost, they fell from the sky. Two girls, one with a magic sword that cleaved through monsters like paper, the other with a staff, unleashing lightning that lit up the battlefield. Arya gasped. Readaroo and
That's quite enough sparkly sentiment for one chapter. Oh no, not another recap-style episode. How about we toss the hugs and hope to the side for just a moment? After Mythia and Readaroo left Alan, they were finally on their way to Navish to catch up with Ishua. How noble! But oh no, a carriage was under attack. Naturally, Mythia insisted on saving strangers first. Readaroo grumbled, but joined in. Heroics. Hooray! Then somehow they ended up in a mansion eating caviar and losing a week of their lives. Oops, a noble's daughter got cured, gratitude was thrown, and jobs were declined because they're simple adventurers. Apparently, when they finally got back on track, Ishua was long gone. Off on a quest near the elven village, which just so happened to be a restricted zone. So what do? Side quests. Deliver cats, smack undead babysit kids, truly legendary feats. And just when you think it's safe, BAM giant bird attack Mythia, snoozing midair, Readaroo screaming. Turns out the bird's taking them straight to the forbidden zone. They land right in a monster horde, next to a dying world tree, and here comes the boss music. Now that's how you accidentally crash a royal decree. And a tree funeral in the same day.
Mythia made quick work of the monsters rushing their way. Her magic sword flashed like lightning, slicing through foes with ease. Arya watched, wide-eyed and impressed. They've gotten so much stronger, she thought. Diana, still catching her breath, couldn't believe what she was seeing. Why did Alan turn away such talented warriors? Readaroo tossed a mana potion to Arya. Here, use this. Arya caught it, nodded gratefully, and downed it quickly, not about to fall behind. Diana gritted her teeth, stepping forward with the last of her strength. Her sword swung in a powerful arc, cutting down a few more monsters. Mythia raised an eyebrow, surprised by Diana's skill. And who might you be? Suddenly, a voice rang out from above the battlefield. I'm here to help. Magic attacks rained down like a storm on the monsters below. Arya looked up in surprise. There was Lillian, the hero herself. Mythia whispered, so this must be the hero who recently defeated one of the 4 heavenly kings. Lillian didn't waste time explaining. The mana holes are already in place. Ishua was pouring mana into the world tree to cleanse the miasma. She turned to the group with a firm nod. Hold out a little longer. A quiet prayer formed in her heart for the success of her beloved senior. Meanwhile, far below, Lillian and Ishua worked tirelessly, setting up mana holes that might just save their dying world. And just as the leaves of the world tree began to slow their sad descent, Chelsea and the elves noticed a hopeful change. Ishua explained that the mana holes were working. They'd stop the miasma's erosion soon enough. Then he asked Lillian to assist the others, and the young hero took off to rally help. Meanwhile, Ishua stayed behind, focusing all his mana on healing the ancient giant. He poured opposing mana into the tree, carefully restoring its damaged circulation. The elves were amazed to see Ishua still supplying mana non-stop, even after creating dozens of magic circles around the tree. Chelsea realized Ishua had more mana than she, the queen of the elves herself. If he kept this up, the mana would spread evenly, without stressing the tree's fragile branches and leaves. As Ishua focused, sensing the mana flowing smoothly again, the leaves stopped falling altogether. The elves erupted in celebration. New leaves sprouted quickly, and the world tree's natural regeneration was restored. Chelsea wept with joy, feeling the tree thrive once more. Meanwhile, on the front lines, the girls fought fiercely, noticing the miasma thinning from above. Lillian confirmed the leaves had stopped falling and the tree's purification was complete. Diana, leading the charge, urged everyone to hold on just a little longer. The monsters suddenly ceased attacking, leaving Mythia confused. Then, one by one, they turned away and walked off like nothing had happened. Ridaru explained they'd weakened after the world tree's power returned.
And here I thought the monsters just got bored. Nope, all that miasma was their evil energy drink. Cut that off and poof, no fight left in them.
Arya asked if they'd truly saved the dying tree. Diana raised her sword proudly, announcing their victory. Chelsea admitted she didn't know how to thank Ishua. He told her to wait as he prepared one last spell. Raising his arms, Ishua formed a magic circle, sending it toward the tree's trunk. Layers of glowing circles appeared, storing light-based mana to help if the purification ever faltered again. Chelsea marveled at Ishua's dedication. Arya and the others returned, hugging Ishua warmly. He thanked Diana and Lillian for their defense, but was surprised to see Ridaru and Mythia with them. Mythia hugged Ishua, saying she'd missed him. Ridaru teased her for hogging the hug first. Just like Arya did, Ishua couldn't believe these two had come to help me. Thea said it was natural. If it was for Ishua, Ridaru revealed a bird had led them here, and Mythia was shocked they shared their secret. Chelsea stepped forward, declaring Ishua the true savior who had descended upon their village, but she acknowledged the girls, calling them a great team. Ishua shrugged, saying they weren't really a team, just strangers who met by chance. Chelsea, impressed by their coordination, said the entire region was saved thanks to them. She announced a festival that night. The elves prepared food, drinks, and cheers for their heroes, celebrating their village's salvation. Chelsea confessed she had prepared for the world tree's death, even if the fake hero hadn't dealt the final blow. Ishua wondered how much responsibility the Queen of the Elves carried for protecting such a giant. Chelsea bowed, telling Ishua to ask for anything he needed. He told her to stop bowing and that the great festival was thanks enough. Just then, Ishua flinched at a familiar drunken voice. Arya. Completely drunk from the elf fruit wine, the elves cheered as Arya drank more. Ishua warned her about the alcohol's potency, but Arya proudly claimed a saintess like her could purify drunkenness. Arya changed the subject quickly, asking Ishua to drink with her while clinging on to him. Nearby, Lillian complained that her feelings weren't reaching Ishua. Diana angrily asked how Lillian was allowed to drink. Lillian suddenly felt sad, saying, she was a weak hero Ishua probably hated. She tried to fly away, but Diana stopped her. Ishua watched the chaotic scene, and without a word, he and Diana shared a look. They were definitely in the same boat. The night carried on, as noisy and wild as the festival itself. The next morning, Ishua said goodbye to Chelsea and the elves. Alan, locked in a carriage, demanded to know why he was treated like a prisoner despite being the hero. The elves disagreed, calling him a fake who tried to destroy their village.
Ah, the fallen hero in the fancy cage sounds like a bedtime story if I ever heard one. I do hope he enjoyed the accommodations.
Mythia complained Alan was in a fancy cage and suggested breaking his legs instead. Ishua explained they needed to report to the king. Alan tried to escape. Blaming Ishua for taking away his mana, Ishua said their next stop was Naksha, then the royal capital. Chelsea hoped they'd return soon. The festival had been fun, and Ishua promised to visit again. With that, Ishua and the girls headed back to the capital. And that wraps up today's incredible journey. From corrupted forests and cursed mana to festivals and flying fists, what a ride! Ishua and his friends didn't just save a village, they restored hope. And maybe, just maybe, they formed a real team after all.
Indeed, my radiant little optimist. And let's not forget, a hero's journey always includes a drunken saint, a weepy elf queen, and a fake hero stuffed in a magical bird cage. Deliciously poetic, wouldn't you say?
You always make it sound so dramatic, but we love it. And if you enjoyed this magical tale, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in Ishua's story. From all of us here, stay kind, stay strong, and stay tuned for more enchanted chaos.